Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Strat Gamer here, providing you with the new Anno 1800 episode mod review. And today we're doing something a bit different because we're gonna start in Nexus. If you don't know about Nexus, this is where you can download most of those mods that I keep talking about. So this website is of course in the description below. And today, because we're looking at something where it's actually very easy to see the impact and for me to describe it to you in Nexus, we're gonna start in Nexus but then go to the game. Before we dive in, please consider subscribing to the channel. Into strategy games, city building games, simulations, that's exactly the type of game I cover, so don't hesitate to subscribe so you never miss another video and you help support the channel. Okay, so this mod, actually quite recent, end of October, talking about new legendary items. And if you follow my channel, this is not actually the first mod. There was also a previous mod that added a few new legendary items, which will be in the description below and appear now at the top. But this is a new one, not, they're two completely different ones. They don't touch on the same elements, but at the core, I guess they are similar in the sense that they try to provide items for things that weren't really covered in the base game. That doesn't mean, obviously, that you're getting completely new production lines, but it's things like new byproducts that were not possible to have before, or items on a production line that didn't have a lot of items, in particular legendaries. So that's the type of things we're talking about here. As you can see, there's some for trade unions, town hall, lodges in the Arctic, and Harbor Master Office. So there's a bit of everything, a bit for everyone. So thanks Lion53 for this new mod, not the first mod from this great modder, so don't hesitate to check that out in my previous episode on Nexus. But yeah, 21 new legendary items. They are legendary, so they are definitely strong. Many will say OP. And of course, if you're trying to do like a very proper min-maxing record, probably don't want to use any of them because that would be sort of, in a sense, cheating because it's not part of the base game. But yeah, that's what we're gonna look into. 3 weapons for some of your ships, 5 town hall items, 11 trade union items, 1 Arctic Lodge item, and 1 Harbor Master Office item. Let's dive in. And what's good also is here those views, which is from the internal asset viewer, Control T. If you don't know about it, you can also see the item source, meaning where you can get it. So you can see the research institute, but also other elements like quest, expeditions, and traders. A number in ALE will look at that. So the first one is that one Lord Cutler, Mike Bain, to your Arctic lodges, and affects a number of those elements. And what's interesting is the forest fertility is provided. That is the only item doing that. So once again, that's what I mean by a bit of a new thing. And similarly, forest density increase. So you need less trees, right? Or you can put more of them in a smaller area. This is something quite that happens in most of the other regions, but we don't really have that in the Arctic for a lot of those buildings. So it's good to have it, and then an extra good of that production. So of course, quite strong because you have productivity, the forest abundance provided, the forest density, and an extra good. But yeah, that's legendary for you. Moving on to the second one, WH Twain. For your mines and quarries, productivity, that's definitely a good one. 50 explosion chance also reduce. But what's really interesting or quite new is this. It provides you special scrap and lost expedition scrap. 2 things that many people keep complaining about. It takes a long time to get with just that production. So you may want to check that one out, even if you're just looking for those 2 things. That will simplify the life of many people. So quite like this one. Once again, you can find it at ALE. Then the third one, Dakota, for your cattle and Sengak farms. So in Mbesa here. Productivity, number of module minus 60%. This one, that's crazy. That's huge. So definitely will OP and will change or simplify your game by a lot if you use it. And on top of that, producing leather boots. So if you're trying to do, for example, your scholar run, that's definitely an item you may want to look at. Once again, at Ellie. Number 4, Professor Linus. For your distillery, Stabdistillery, Advanced Rum Distillery, and Artisan Workshop Cognac. So not all drinks, but a number of the drinks, increasing your productivity, and then a lot of extra goods. Because, especially if you put it on your Schnapps Distillery, those distilleries are quite fast, right? So a cycle, like 1 out of 6 or 1 out of 7 is quite a lot, actually. This one is, again, a quite powerful one. And the trader Ellie once again. Number 5, Frank Stone. For your slaughterhouse, and what's interesting is the extra are completely different, but at the same time, the substitute workforce. This one has a lot of the things mixed in it. Of course, the productivity plus 50, quite useful, but then instead of its usual workforce, which is, if I'm not mistaken, workers, the building employs tourists. So that may actually make it harder. It's sort of a con, right? It's not a pro for me because you usually don't have that many tourists as workforce. But interestingly, it provides beef goulash, maybe not that interesting, but then the one I really like is dry meat for your Mbesa and pemmican, so you don't have to produce it in the Arctic. So that's quite powerful here. And once again, at Eli, where in all of the trade unions elements here, another trade union ones for Eli again, but it is for your pipe maker, sorry, so that's in Mbesa, and instead of tobacco, which you have to import, it processes hibiscus petals, and on top of that, it produces internally hibiscus petals. It's almost like recycling it. So you basically need half of it instead of the full. So that's definitely super powerful because you don't need to import from the New World, and on top of that, you sort of half the need. This one fully OP. I'll say it. Next one, Charles Lloyd, again for your trade union, so you can find it at Eli. But affects very new buildings because it's for your toys and billiard tables. Productivity plus 60, that's a big one because there's not many items actually impacting this one currently. And on top of this, instead of celluloid, which takes a lot to produce, the building processes wood veneers, which is not the easiest, but definitely way easier than celluloid. And on top of that, 1 out of 6 souvenirs. So again, I don't want to repeat everything, but of course they are definitely all of them are OP, they're all legendary, proper legendaries. The next one, Dewey Hasselbay, for your fisheries, lobsters, fish oil, and pearls. So either in the old world, also in Mbesa, or the new world. Yeah, bit for everybody. Productivity plus 35. That's not 50. That's pretty good, especially when you add those things. If you're trying to do a scholar run, for example, this is quite powerful. Fish, you probably already have tons of it. Pearl, you actually don't need that many. So it's really the lobster for me that's interesting here. Now the next one, Makatem Black Eagle for your crop farms, and once again in the trade union. So it's not saying there, but I think we can check it in game later. For your crop farms, it is huge because productivity and decreases the number of modules by 50%. That is super OP. Next one, Wang Mingzhou, chemical plants for souvenirs plus 100% for your productivity, and then completely changes your inputs because instead of glass, cotton, and camphor wax, which, I'm not saying they're the easiest or not the hardest, they're sort of in the middle. Now you're going to use biscuits, paper, and coal. So it's almost actually harder. And that's, compensating in a sense for your productivity, huge boost, because the biscuits in particular is quite hard. The coal is not, but the biscuit is. But it does produce some biscuits. You're gonna need less to make it work. And once again for Ellie. Cerebram for your telephone manufacturer and coach maker. There's not that many items for there, so that's appreciated. And in particular, what's really appreciated is it sort of once again reduces the needs, because reduces caoutchouc and filaments and productivity boost. So definitely making your game easier, let's say this one. Then Cornelius affects steelworks, furnace, and motor assembly line. We don't really need great items for those ones. There's already good enough, I would say, but this one is super OP. Plus 50% productivity, minus 60 workforce, so you'll definitely be able to have 0% workforce with a couple of other items. And on top of that, you're producing your steel beams, your motors, and your advanced weapons on top, so you probably won't need as many of these buildings. Then James Carson for your harbor buildings or the harbor master office, loading speed plus 50%, plus 100%, sorry, and activity. And activity, don't think that's that much important, but your 100% loading speed, that's a huge one in game, especially if we can put it on all of our islands. Now that's for your ships, and here maybe we'll have to check it on in game too. Sorry about that. Went too fast to see where you can get them, but it's it's visible on your ships. This one is a torpedo, so it does a lot of damage. This one increases your attack speed, and you can attack without being at war, so that's quite strong. I think there's third one. Increases your damage space per shot, your attack speed, and your attack range. That's huge, and especially the attack speed plus 200%. You're gonna basically mean you can attack 1 against 3, and you're still winning in a sense. So those ones are for your ships quite strong. Then going into the town hall, but still find at LE, for all your investor skyscrapers and investors residences. Happiness plus 10 reduces coffee. If you know about the current items, there is one item that reduces coffee by 100%, but it's a unique item. You can only have it once. Versus this one, I'm guessing, because it says trader, we can have it as many as we want. And on top of reducing the coffee, it also, if you have the member clubs around your city, then you don't need to put biscuits. So this is huge. With that, you could definitely increase your population by a lot if you wanted. Next one is for all old world residences, minus 30 for happiness. That's huge. Okay, this one is terrible. Oh yeah, Bonnie and Clyde. Okay. So nobody wants this one, I'm guessing, except if I do again a very complex, the hardest possible playthrough. Maybe you've seen my playthrough on the French Revolution scenario. That is an item we could use everywhere. That reduces your happiness, makes more chance of illness, and a riot plus 500%. So basically, your city is in a riot all the time. That's a very interesting one to make the game harder. Now, old world residences, maintenance costs increased, but while doing that, you increase the range of your variety theater. I'm guessing you increase also the happiness of your residences. And then if the variety theater is fulfilled to those residences, they get church and rum. Not really end game stuff, but still quite powerful. Now we have Samuel Montgomery for your Obrero residence in the New World. They will increase the happiness by 10. It's quite nice. And as long as you have the boxing area, which is just one building, so of course do it, you will have bottle hats, cigars, beer, and rum provided. So that is the most OP of them all. That's super strong. Next, Tatsumi for your scholar residence. So on your town hall, of course, but still LE. It will give you more bonus research points. So your research points will, come back to full quicker. Will give you happiness and a lot of residence. 36, that's quite a bit, just from having the university. Oh, and on top of that, it also reduces the consumption of telephones by 70 and the RAM by 40. Yeah, I'm sorry, this is way too OP. These definitely are touching upon, gaps in the game, let's say gaps in the base game, where for other productions or other buildings, you do have items and you don't for these, but at the same time, I think they're way too strong. So of course, they will. Don't hesitate to use them if you want to change your game, if you want to make your game a bit easier, if you just want a different experience. But if you're trying to do a record or if you're trying to show people that you know how to play the game, I think you can't touch them. So yeah, it is. There was one item we did want to check in game. Which one was this one, right? Macadam black. So let's go into the game. Control T. Oops, sorry about that. Control T. Macadam unknown. I can check it. It is actually not possible to get it at a trader, but you do get it at the Research Institute. So yeah, hope you like this episode, or a bit different from usual. Don't hesitate to press the like button if you did. Don't hesitate to leave a comment about your thoughts, your requests for future episodes, and I hope to see you next time.